Hi, my name is Emma and I am a trainee PWP, and in this video we are talking about the interview process. So my interview process might be different from other services interview process. However, I'm going to explain things based on my experience. So with the interview process, they send you a confirmation letter to say you have been accepted for an interview on this day, XYZ. They will also send you a role play, and that was sent in advance. So they'll send you a role play that you have to read out, and you have to practice. So, and I believe the whole interview in itself, majority of the questions are from that role play that you did, as well as other questions. The interview was quite a while ago, and I'm just gonna talk about questions that they might potentially ask. So these questions will not be the exact same questions. There will be potential interview questions. So once you do the role play, which is 10 minutes long, and how you prepare for that role play, I think it's always helpful to prepare the role play with another person. So for me, I did a counselling course, so it was really helpful. We did role plays, even though it was dreadful during the time of doing the role play on the course. It really helped me for this interview. So they will say, for example, somebody is coming to you and they're struggling with depression, and you want to make sure you're assessing them that they are right for the service. So you would have the role play, you read through it, and whenever you talk to somebody, whenever you are in service and you're introducing yourself, you always introduce yourself and you introduce your title and what you're here for and how long you're going to be hoping to speak to them for. So, for example, hello, my name is Emma. The session today is going to take about 10 minutes long. We're trying to assess if you are best fit for the service. If not, then we'll see what else we can do to support you. So something short and simple like that. So when you've introduced yourself, you always must touch on confidentiality. Confidentiality is very important when you're working in services, because you're working with high risk individuals, or you're working with individuals that are low risk, and you don't know the type of information that they're bringing to you. So it's really important to always mention and put stress on confidentiality. Anything you say will be kept confidential. However, there are some things that I may have to take back to my supervisor or my managers for better clarification. However, if you do report any information that's harm to yourself or to others, or any criminal activities, I may have to report that. But I will try to have that conversation with you before I do that. All our information is stored confidentially, and it's be kept between me and yourself. However, again, if I do need to, then I will share that information with others. Something like that. So something around confidentiality, something like that, talking about risk for harm from self, harm from others, harm to self. So there's 3 types of risk: harm to self, harm from others, and harm from others to self. So always important to make sure you highlight the 3 different types of risk when you're talking about risk. So once you've done that, then you go further into talking to the person. Something that we do in our service currently, which I think is always helpful in this day and age, is asking them, what's your name, what's your full name, confirming their name with them. What's your name, what's your full name, and how would they like to be identified? How would they like to be, what would they like to be known as, is helpful. So once you've done that, then you're gonna go get stuck into that role play. The role play is 10 minutes, so just keep that in mind, that you have to also make sure you're keeping in time with that 10 minutes and you're keeping on top of yourself, okay? So you want to talk to them about what they're currently struggling with. You want to ask them the what, the where, the who, the why. When did it happen? What's happening? Why it's happening? Where it happened? Or is there a particular place that makes you feel X, Y, Z? Ask them questions. When you're asking those questions and they're talking to you, make sure you're paraphrasing information back to them. Make sure you're reflecting the information back to them. Make sure you're providing that empathy. And mind you, this is all in 10 minutes. So again, just try to do the best you can within that short time frame. Ask them, is there anything else you wish to add? No? Tell them, thank you for your time. What I'm going to do is take some information back to my supervisor, and then I'll contact you and let you know if you are appropriate for the service. So the role play is something short, something sweet. Doesn't really need that much strain on it, but again, it sets you up for when you're asking all those other questions that come from the role play. So I believe the next question, or questions that was asked or could potentially be asked, was how you felt that role play went, the good things that you took from that role play, the bad things that you potentially, or the areas of improvement from that role play. And just be honest. What do you think went well? What do you think you didn't go well? I think for me, what I said went well was the empathy side of things. I was really able to deliver that empathy, to reflect with that client, and to summarize how they're feeling. I think what I said for me, for the role play that I did that didn't go well, was maybe I might have slightly overstepped the boundary. But then again, recognizing that, having that brief self-reflection is also important. It's something that they're looking for that you are able to do. So that was highlighted. And then you want to talk about what the potential implications could have been if, you did overstep the boundary, what you could be doing. Talk about it. Be honest. Be open. Talking about, you could be opening up a can of worms, something that's out of your jurisdiction. What do you do? Let's explore that. So that was something I remember that was asked at that time, or potentially can be asked for your interview. For your interview process. Who knows? Some other things that maybe they look at is asking about things around culture. So and I'll talk about this in the university side of things, we talk a lot about culture, identity, diversity, and so forth. And that is so much, that is involved in so much in everything that we do, that it's essentially everything that we do. We're working with people, all different ethnicities, all different walks of life, and it's really important. So something that they ask about is about culture. So talking about clients that might potentially not want to work with you, and that you're going to have clients that don't want to work with you because either you sound long or young, or you're a trainee, and X, Y, and Z. How do you handle those situations? Talk about that. Be open. Come up with ideas. Think about how, plan your question out. Use that STAR technique. What's the situation? Have you ever experienced it before? Have you ever experienced a situation like that before? What was the situation? How did you address it? What are you going to do better next time? Use that technique and answer those questions. So what are you going to do if a client doesn't want to work with you? It's okay, because again, they might have their own reasons. They might have their culture to it. They might have, their, bad experience from having dealt with someone from your identity, which has no reflection on you. But again, they might have experienced that. So it's really important to be very open and honest when you're answering that question. Some questions that I saw on Indeed that I think is really good. If you're really looking to, or if you're really wanting to be a PWP or trainee PWP, Indeed has some really good questions, and they touch on, generic questions like, why do you want to be PWP? What do you know about the role as a PWP? So research the role, find out reasons to why you want to be a PWP, and a lot of the time, we're all empathetic people. We all want to help people. That's why we're in the role. So explore the reasons, and gather your own ideas to it. So another generic question is, what would you bring to the role? Why do we need to hire you? Talk about it. If it's not your ethnicity, if it's not your culture, talk about your knowledge. Talk about, what experience that you've had in the past, what you've done to lead you up to this role. And again, be honest, be open with it. Tell them you enjoy working with people, and you do, because that's why you apply for this job. That's why you want to work in mental health. So make that be known, make that be apparent. So once you've done this whole service interview, so there's 2 interviews. So you do the service interview on one day, and when you've passed the service interview, then you go to do a university interview. The university interview, I believe, is about, I want to say 4 to 5 questions. And again, I can't remember the questions, but a lot of the time, I can't remember none of the questions that they've asked, but I believe they are looking at, again, culture, identity, being able to work in an anti-discriminatory way. So some things that they potentially could ask you is about, how do you give feedback? They want you to know that you're able to listen and receive feedback. You're able to receive feedback. You're able to give feedback in a constructive way. And when we're giving feedback, we want to use that feedback sandwich. So you want to say something positive, say an area of improvement, and then say something, end it on a positive advice. So an example of a feedback sandwich is by saying, I really like the way you introduced yourself. It was very warm, it was very open, and it sounded like you had built a relationship with your client. There was a time when the client said, I'm not quite sure. Maybe you could have slowed down and explained that section of the rationale to them in a more easier way. However, I think the ending was really great. It was very warm, it was very open, and it sounded like they understood the home task. So something like that. You start with something positive, you give an area of improvement, and then you end it on a positive note. So you want to make sure you're providing these examples to university. Another thing that potentially the university, the university asks us a few questions, and I can't not remember all of them for the life of me. However, I believe like the university is going to ask you questions that you've already answered with the service. So they're exploring your culture, they're exploring what you know about, what you've experienced. So they want to make sure you're coming in with that open mind, that non-judgmental frame of mind, which is really, really important. So you have 2 interviews, and once you pass the service interview, then you get the university interview. And then you are on the road to becoming a PWP. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop me some comments in the comment box, and stay tuned for more videos. I'll be dropping them every Wednesdays. Thank you guys for watching.